I wanted to start with just asking, just kind of what have you learned so far from this season? Now that we're in the new year.
Yeah. Well, a little bit of a learning curve. Thought we'd be a little bit further along in some areas, but just the reality of it takes time. It takes time to get everybody on the same page. It takes time for young players to learn this style of basketball played over here, and just how hard it is to create a team and a culture that has great chemistry and that works well together. I don't think that's a given. I think when you watch a team get old like we have in the past few years and see how they manage things, it's just a new world for our team and for our coaching staff and for these young players. So not as far as long as I want us to be, but really, really encouraged by the effort, by the work, by the commitment, by the competitiveness, and I think ultimately by again, the high ceiling that I think we have still in front of us for this team to improve.
Talked about some of the learning curves. What specifically, especially for your freshmen from overseas, what have their learning curves been just adjusting to American college basketball?
Well, I just think the game is played a little bit differently. I mean, obviously, travels are called differently. You know, their role on this team playing, is different. They're teaching young players how to scout and how to approach practice and how to be really elite at all those things. I just think that you just have to build that out over time. Um, but ultimately, I think the biggest issue is just, the game isn't, we're not talented enough to just go out and beat people off the bounce one on one. It really requires great teamwork and that means spacing and timing and cutting, and five people all on the same page. And I think when you just have a lot of new players, it's hard to get five people on the same page at the right time, making the right plays. So that's the one that's taken the longest on the offensive end in particular. Some defensive breakdowns that we've got to get better, but I think offensively, just trying to give everybody a best chance to succeed, and that means we got to be really patient and really space the floor well. And then I think with the talent that we have, abilities to be a little bit better on the offensive end if we just work a little bit better together.
It seems that Alex Koville has gained a lot of confidence this season. What have you seen from Alex just getting more minutes on the floor and turning in performances like she did on Saturday?
Well, I think we just made a big emphasis a couple of weeks ago about, giving our post players a little bit more. We wanted our guards to look for them a little bit earlier in offense, the first 10 seconds, and we wanted to let our posts, have the whole lane to work early in offense. And Alex has really taken advantage of that. She doesn't get shoved out as much. She works behind the D better. She works on the opposite side and is patient, and the guards are doing a better job of looking for her. But she's really caught the ball in great positions where people can't double her, and she really doesn't have to make any dribble moves. She just basically has to turn and finish, and she's finishing great. Has a lot of confidence, but I think we're giving her the ball in better positions for her to score easier baskets. And
Awesome.
we want that for all of our posts. We need all our posts to do that a little bit better. She's just done it better than others.
And then St. Mary's and Gonzaga obviously on the schedule this week. What kind of, I guess kind of a broad question, what have you seen so far from West Coast Conference play and any surprises? And then just what can you expect to see from those two teams who second St. Mary's, I believe, tied for second place, right? And the Gonzaga, obviously, you saw them last year and they've got a long string of success.
Yeah. You know, just worried about St. Mary's right now. Certainly understand Gonzaga, just like Oregon State, have a little bit more of a history with those two programs, um, rivalries, and playing programs that have ultimately just, gosh, talk about succeed and win and tradition rich of winning basketball programs. I mean, that's what you have in Gonzaga and Oregon State. So, um, nothing's different players this year. They're a little bit like us, where the Gonzaga I'm talking about has to really They've had to change up what they are because of so many new faces. Same with Oregon State. I think we're all kind of alike in that way. But the biggest thing that I've learned from the West Coast Conference, I think, is just the fact that anybody can beat anybody, and we can probably beat anybody. It's just if we're at our best, I think we have a great chance. But if we aren't, spot on and directed and together and on edge, then we're going to get beat. And I think we had a real, average um, effort, average execution, average intensity against Santa Clara, and Santa Clara had an exceptional night, and they beat us to the ball all over the court, and they were more aggressive at the rim. And clearly we lost that game, and I think that's an example of that. St. Mary's too. They do the exact same stuff that Santa Clara does. A lot of high lows in St. Mary's and Gonzaga. There's a lot of similarities in this conference as far as how people play, individual players, and how they attack the rim. And those are some areas that we've had problems defending. So big concerns for this weekend and these two games. And a lot of respect for these opponents and everybody in this league. And, we just want to put a good foot forward and hope that we're playing good basketball when we play on Thursday.
Defensively, what has helped your team kind of address those weaknesses, or can obviously continue to address those weaknesses? And has any player stepped in to provide leadership, especially on the defensive end?
I think we're going to have to, it's really much more on me. I'm going to have to change how we play some. Santa Clara just beat us with the middle ball screen, and we were switching, and just some difficulty in managing their bigs. And got to be able to play different people, got to be able to play, defend pick and rolls differently and not just get beat by the same thing over and over. So I think that's the point. We're still in January, and I think we can adjust. I think we can go really big sometimes. I think we can throw some more aggressive zones at people. So I think we can be a lot better defensively and a lot more versatile with our talent. Now, can that lineup score the basketball on the other end? I mean, that's the problem. Sometimes you take, a smaller guard off the floor, AT or LA, and all of a sudden, well, they're your best scoring punch. So it's not always, we might be better defensively in some situations, but you're not going to be better on the other end. So it's a game where we got to be good on both ends of the floor, and our young people have to be spot on and getting better defensively and rebounding and being able to be versatile, but they also have to be able to, create opportunities for people on the offensive end.
Have you based on your previous seasons, has there been kind of this is probably just an interesting question in terms of just like, yes, so you might say yes, of course, but what kind of adjustments have you made, over previous seasons? And is this season different in that you're kind of having to adjust defense kind of in this late or in January, or kind of, is this kind of an annual occurrence where you just see what your team has, what's on the floor, and then adjust from there?
No, I don't think we've always thought we had as much versatility defensively. What I give so much credit to with the players that we lost a year ago, and that means all the seniors, all the older players, they were unbelievably high IQ. And so we could put a scheme together, and it might be Charlize, which you wouldn't think, she might not have gotten steals, but she would play a player perfectly and not only stop that player, but also stop the angle that the ball went into the post, because she knows what's coming. Like, she could learn a scout, as it was going. She could adjust in the game as it was going. Obviously B was really good. Bella was really good. Yo, when she played, was really good. So all those older players, just super high IQ, and their ability to scout and their ability to manage the game on the defensive end and change within the game, and not even need a timeout, and certainly not need to watch it on film before they learn it. And with young players, you're just not going to get that. They don't know the personnel as well. We're not as clean on our scouts and our execution of ball screen defense. But at the same time, we're not all those things, but we're also longer than we've ever been. So we can go bigger on the ball. We can do different things on ball coverages. I think we can zone more. than we have. I kind of got scared off of that against Santa Clara and shouldn't have. And I thought we did a good job at the end of the game where we adjusted a little bit. So there's just more length and I think bodies and depth that we can play faster and more people and man and zone. And I don't think we could do that so much a year ago just because of our depth and not just not being very big on the wings.
Sure. Thanks, Coach. Really appreciate it.
Yes, Sam. Thanks.
Thanks, Sam. Greg Lee. If you've got any questions, go ahead. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Coach.
Hello.
Are you still there? Are you there?
Yep, I hear you now.
Okay. Obviously, I'm interested in the second half of your week with your game against Gonzaga on Saturday. What are the biggest challenges that Gonzaga presents?
Well, I mean, just the way the calendar falls, this is a really big advantage for them to be off on Thursday and us traveling. I think that's a great advantage. I think I just think that's a big advantage and not having to travel, but an hour up the road. I think that's a concern. We can't work on them. They can work on us all week and they can fix what their problems are too, I guess. So that's a big concern. Obviously, Edgem is amazing in the post. I don't think anyone can stop her. We did a great job a year ago, but just that's, you got to have a game plan for her. And, just love how she plays, love how she competes, love how she seems to just love that team and that program and give to it night in and night out. Lisa just does a great job. They don't run a million things, but they run really, really well. And they're figuring out their team and where they need to put their best players and how to get them the ball. And so it's a hard scout for us because we only have one day to turn around and get back and rest and get ready for them. So there's a lot of problems and there's a lot of issues to deal with Gonzaga.
Now, do you guys charter? Do you fly right back Thursday night?
We are Thursday. We don't normally, but we have to. We couldn't get back into that next day until like 4:00. So thankfully we do have an opportunity to charter back that night.
If you play well, what will you like about how you're playing?
Well, we've found ways to lose games. You look at any stat on the stat box. It used to be assists to turnovers. We turned the ball over every single time, and we didn't get enough shots. And then we got 23 more shots than Santa Clara, and somehow lost the game because we shot the ball so badly. So we've seen it all. We've seen it all. But ultimately, what succeeds, I think, long term in basketball. What are the teams in the top 25 doing night in and night out? What has Gonzaga done forever, and all these other teams? They make you make hard baskets and they limit you to one shot, and they're efficient on the offensive end. And that means not turning it over and getting good looks. And, for us, we need 4 people in double figures. We need to get to 70 points. We just don't win very many games when we're at 60 and things like that. We've got to find some efficiency on the offensive end. And usually that means by spreading the ball around and not depending on have to get us 20 or 25.
Okay. So St. Mary's, what do you see in terms of that challenge?
Yeah, I just think they're a lot like Santa Clara. I mean, I think everybody in the league's a little bit like that. They got just enough shooters that, you got to get out and guard them. And then they got these great drivers that can get to the rim. I thought Santa Clara really spread us out, and then they just, killed us at the rim on drives. So we've got to get better at defending one-on-one. We've got to show some help and support to the ball a little bit better. Early on, we were one of the worst teams in the country in defending the 3-point line. So, the second you start worrying about don't let them at the rim, then all of a sudden you're giving up 3. So it's a hard game. You got to do both. And we've got good players and good length and good quickness and competitive players. We just have to play harder on the defensive end and limit their good looks at the basket. And again, it's the same thing. I don't think I think St. Mary's can really put some points on the board, and we're gonna have to hold them down, and we're gonna have to find ways to score against them.